Okay, this is Rabbi Shmuel Pollan back with you for the Light Unto the Nations show. Don't forget to subscribe and like and hit the bell. And please leave me a comment to let me know what you think of what I've been saying so I can tailor it just for you, make sure everybody is happy as they can be. We have a book for sale called All In for God, and I hope you pick it up at allinforgod.com. It's going to answer a lot of questions about your faith and about your life, about your role in the world, and all good stuff. It's a wonderful book. I enjoyed writing it, and I hope you'll pick it up at allinforgod.com. Okay, we have a very, very special show for you today. We have a problem in the United States and all around the world that 40 to 50% of people are getting a divorce. And I want to make a dent in that with this video because divorce is awful. I have been through one, and I don't recommend it to anyone. We gotta figure out how to get along with each other, because God says in the Bible that it is not good for man to be alone. So we need to fix this. And to fix it, we first need to understand what is marriage. And I already did a video about that, and I'll link to it in the description, God willing. And you need to watch that video, Why Get Married, to understand why you are married. And that will help you fix up your marriage that much better and make the link between you that much stronger. So how to fix a marriage, that's the title of this video. And I'm going to say that, as happened in my case, certain people have personality disorders, or they have any kind of emotional disorder that does not allow them to change their behavior or their outlook. They're not willing to take advice, and they're not willing to change. And I'm sorry, if you marry to someone like that, you can grin and bear it, or if you get a divorce, I don't blame you, because in order for a marriage to work, both parties need to be willing to negotiate. That's what Jordan Peterson calls it, negotiation. Such people who can't change their views at all, not willing to negotiate, are only going to cause misery to their spouse. It's like two businessmen. If one of them is not willing to negotiate, they shouldn't go into negotiations. They should do business on their own. Because marriage is like a little bit like a business. It's a negotiation between two parties. Both parties have to be willing to let go of their hangups, let go of their arrogance, let go of their ego, and enter into negotiations, which is what we're going to do right now. We're going to give you things that you should inject into your marriage that will heal the marriage. We're going to give you healing injections. So we need to inject concepts, certain concepts that you have to have in mind, that you have to implement, you have to take to heart and implement it in your actions. And that is how your marriage will be healed. The first concept we need to inject is the concept of essence. Essence is like a circle, the middle of the circle, from the middle until any side, up, down, across. It's all going to be exactly the same because the essence is unchanging. It's like art. Whether it's the Mona Lisa or your kid's drawing from first grade that you put on the fridge, they're equally art. One may be more expensive and better than the other, but they're all art. It's unchanged. Body positivity is another example. No matter how big you get, we should appreciate you and your body. It's totally unchanged because you're a person, you have value, you're a godly soul. So we respect you and love you for who you are, no matter what your body might look like. And this unchanging essence, which is also like a son and his mother, the son will always be the son of the mother. That is unchanging. Will always be the son of his mother. So, because that's just what it is. That's what it means to be a son. You can't change that. So, a corollary of this is the word acceptance. Acceptance is accepting that which changes, but it doesn't change to you. You accept them exactly as they are. So the first thing you need to do is accept your husband or your wife as they are. though they are imperfect. They are definitely imperfect. But just like a child, you don't think of dropping them just because they misbehave. Equally, you should take to heart the idea that you shouldn't drop your husband or wife. You shouldn't even think about dropping your husband or wife because they misbehave, because they're not acting good. If what they're doing is alcoholism or being a sex addict or something like that, it needs to be dealt with. But you don't drop them just because they're having a problem. Whatever they're doing wrong, they're acting out a certain wound that they have. So we need to respect that and accept them as they are and get both feet in the house. I can't help you if you have one foot out the door. You have to have both feet in the house. So take that foot and mentally bring it back into the house and say, I accept him for who he is. Now let's work with that. So it means two things. It means you're locked together. You are one with each other. A husband and a wife are one. Your relationship is essential. My spouse is my husband or my wife, and nothing can change that. Divorce doesn't even change that. You're still married. If you have kids, you're still going to be married to each other, and you're going to have interactions with each other, and you're going to have to learn how to get along. It's a joint venture. So God chose it, and he set it up in such a way that you are one with each other. You are united. You will always be united. So commit to yourself to make this work, no matter how hard it is, with both feet in the house, not with one foot out the door. You have to be all in. That's like my book, All In for God. You have to be all in for your spouse. If you believe in God, you know that God chose her or him for me, and he knows best. And if you don't believe in God, the universe picked him or her for me, and the universe knows better than I do. The universe is what creates all the grass and the trees and the squirrels and intelligent people, conscious human beings. And even if it's not God, let it be the universe. Just know that whatever made this happen, whatever made you and him or him and you be together, is done by something that's much smarter and wiser than you and me. They know what's best for us, and they're the one that they gave us. So the other thing that it means is that your spouse, you should look at essentially. You should look at them essentially. Not just the marriage being essential, but look at them essentially, accepting them as they are, a piece of art. An art has dark tones and light tones, and we celebrate it, even though it has dark tones and light tones. So your husband or your wife has dark tones and light tones, and we should celebrate the piece of art that they are. They are a beautiful piece of art. So the next thing we need to inject is the storyteller, the third-party perspective. There was once a rabbi and two litigants came before him, and one gave his case. The plaintiff gave his case against the defendant, and he orated it very well. He gave a whole list of reasons why he's right and he's wrong. And then the defendant came through with his list of arguments saying why he's right and he's wrong. And when the first one got through saying what he said, the rabbi said, "You're right." And then when the next one came with what he had to say, the rabbi said, "You're right." And then the rabbi's wife was behind him, and he said, "Honey, they can't both be right. They're saying opposite things." And he says, "You're also right." That's the third perspective. The third perspective is that they're both right. So, and the truth is, in every argument, there is rightness, there is righteousness on both sides. You wouldn't be arguing if you didn't have some truth on your side. So you got to be not one and two. You got to be not the defendant and the litigant. You got to be the judge. You got to be the third perspective. You got to get out of the fight. You got into the fight, you can get out of it, and you can take the perspective of the storyteller. With your arguments, you're making a story, and the story has an enemy and a hero. And you should be able to look at it both ways, that he's the enemy, he's the hero, she's the enemy, she's the hero. Who's really the hero and who's really the enemy? I don't know, but it's a pretty interesting story, isn't it? So let's pretend that we're the author of this story. Where do we want the story to go next? Take complete control. From the position of the third party perspective, you can take complete control. You are the storyteller. You have control over which way this story goes. To make it better, to make it have a happy ever after, this gives you complete control. There's two opinions. You take the third opinion. Imagine you're like hovering at the ceiling over the argument. You're looking from that third party perspective and you say, I see your point and I see your point, and here's what we're going to do. And we're going to make a solution, be solution oriented, as we said in another video. We're going to make a solution that satisfies both parties. If we can't find a solution that satisfies both parties, we're going to make a compromise. He says 5, he says 10, we're going to go 7.5. We're going to make smack in the middle of the two opinions. That's what we do in negotiations in business, and that's what you should do in your marriage. Find a solution that satisfies both sides, be creative, or make a compromise, but end it happily ever after, and end it with makeup sex. We need to inject also the jokester, because when you're in a fight, you're entrenched. And as I said in another video, never be entrenched in one side of anything. The truth is never on one side of the debate, and there is zero truth on the other side. There is truth in both sides, even if it's just 1%. There is truth on the other side, and that needs to be dealt with. That needs to be recognized, that there's that 1% of truth. You need to deal with that, because that is causing the person to have this whole reaction that they're having. And you totally can change the whole situation without them changing. They don't even need to change. If you change and you take the third party perspective and you're looking at it like a solution oriented person, well, let's find a solution that satisfies both sides. Then he will say, great, I'm so happy. Let's hug. Let me give you a massage. Let's have makeup sex. You can laugh. Humor is in the element of surprise. And you, in your fight, you're falling into specific patterns that you repeat over and over again. You keep having the same fight over the same thing over and over and over again. What if in the middle of the fight, you just go over and give him a hug? You just go over and give her a hug. What if you broke the pattern? Because that's what you got to do. For humor, injecting the jokester, it's about breaking the pattern. What can you do that makes this just surprisingly good? Like this is just a perfect relationship all of a sudden. They will be shocked, and they will be shocked and pleased. God set up a little game for this movie. He set up conflict, and he said, you're going to see things like a woman, essentially, and more practically, and you're going to see things purposefully and more idealistically, and you're going to be in each other's hair for 4 hours a day at least. It's pretty funny, right? That's funny. He's playing a joke on you. It's like the Honeymooners or I Love Lucy. They fought constantly, and it was funny, right? Why can't your fights be funny? You're taking yourself too seriously. This whole thing is taken way too seriously. The fights, people are just totally entrenched, and they're obsessed with their own opinion, and you need to back off and see the humor in what's happening and say, I can't believe that we are fighting about this. And you just laugh. You just laugh about the fact that you're fighting over this. It's so funny. The Messiah will reveal the truth one day, and he will show you exactly where the truth was and where the falsehood was, and he'll clean it all up and give you the perfect solution, and you're going to laugh at how obvious it was. This solution was so obvious. It was right in front of us, and yet it took the Messiah to reveal it. We couldn't figure it out on our own. So it's all pretty funny if you ask me. The next thing we need to inject is God's perspective. Marriage, when it happens, it takes place under a canopy. This is for Jews and non-Jews. It's supposed to be under a canopy, so a cloth is above both of you. The cloth represents God, who is above both of you. You're both under that cloth. And the name of man and the name of woman teaches us something. Some of the sages probe not only into the words of the Torah, but into each individual letter as well. The foremost exponent of this method was Rabbi Akiva from the Talmud. It was he who taught, if husband and wife are deserving, God's presence dwells in their midst. If they are not deserving, fire devours them. For Rabbi Akiva said, the Hebrew word for man is ish, spelled Aleph Yud Shin. Yud is the middle letter, and that's the first letter of God's name. Remove the Yud, and you have Aleph Shin, which means fire, Aish. The Hebrew word for Isha is Aleph Shin Hey. Take out the Hey, and again you have Aish. So if you forget about God when you're fighting, and you do forget about God when you're fighting, what does God want? God wants unity. God is Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. God is oneness. He wants unity. If you for a minute just remember God, that we were under that one canopy, or you will go under that canopy one day, you will have a fire that warms your home. But if you don't have God in the picture, you forget about the third perspective, God's perspective, the judge, the storyteller, the jokester. If you forget about that third perspective, it's going to be a fire that devours your home and destroys your home and everything you hold dear. And that's what will happen if you keep fighting and you don't take the third party perspective. God is the third party perspective. He sees both sides, and he sees that you are wrong and you are wrong and you are right and you are right. We just need to ferret out. We need to distill out what part of what you're saying is right and what part of you're saying is wrong. But you've got to take the third perspective, which is God's perspective. The third party could be a counselor, but a counselor costs money. So if you have a little bit of an imagination, you can come up with something that satisfies both parties or a compromise. But you have to look for that third option that brings the most unity between the two parties. Next, you need to inject the common enemy. The common enemy is the snake of the Garden of Eden. We are just repeating the story of the Garden of Eden over and over and over again. And the snake put hate in between the man, Adam, and the Eve, the woman. So your enemy is not actually each other. You think each other are the enemy. But you need to both just turn around and look and see that it's the snake. It's the snake that's putting hate in between us. It's the arrogance, it's the ego. And that's not really me. So it's not really me fighting with you. It's the snake's venom fighting with the snake's venom. The snake is also called the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animal soul. That's the animal that it is the snake. And the snake is laughing at you. He's laughing at you. He's getting exactly what he wants. He's getting his jollies. He's getting his jollies out of seeing you fight. That's what he wants. He's the Satan. He's the enemy of God. He wants fights in between two people. So turn around and say, as a jokester, aha, I see you. You're getting us to fight. We're not going to let you do it anymore. We know who you are. We know your arrogance. We know your ego. And we know it's all you. It's not us. We have been like brainwashed by him, brainwashed into hate. And it's known, the rabbis say, that each of us has an animal soul and a godly soul. And so when it's two people that are fighting against one enemy, it's two godly souls fighting against one animal soul. So he has no chance. If you just turn around and look at him and see what he's doing to cause enmity in between us, then he will stand no chance. The next thing we're going to inject is the helper opposite. God says, I'm going to make you a woman that's Ezer Kenegdoi. She's going to be a helper who's opposite you. And how could a helper be opposite you? Well, you're in this movie, and the movie is called Helper Opposite You. And in this movie, remember, I'm calling it a movie because I'm always taking the third-party perspective. I'm looking above the fight, I'm not looking in the fight. Everything she says is not hurting you, but it's actually helping you. Even if it's rude, it's helping you sharpen your tools and let's say you have an invention idea and she shoots it down. It's sharpening your tools and making your idea that much better. First of all, if she doesn't like it, then that's the wrong market for that invention. Or maybe you need to maybe that is the right market, and you need to make the invention a little better. And maybe she'll like it at that point, and then you'll know that you've hit the target. But you're off target right now somehow. And she's telling you by her rudeness that you got to get back on target, even though she's not saying it in those words, but she's actually helping you. She's an opposite who is an opposer who is helping you. People in the NBA, the National Basketball Association, like we just very sadly heard about Kobe Bryant, who passed away in a helicopter crash. And he was like my favorite player, and I was very crestfallen by that. But he would hire people just to defend against him when he's practicing. He had the money to do it, but thank God. But many basketball players do it, have someone just defend them while they're shooting. And that's a helper who is opposite him. It's opposite. He's blocking him at every turn. Why would you pay money for someone to block you at every turn? Pay money because it makes you better, it makes you stronger. So the more she opposes you, the more she's actually helping you. Now, you both are supposed to make it clear that you're actually helping. You shouldn't have to figure it out. Make it clear that I'm trying to help you here, and you speak with a soft, calm tone. Make sure they know that you're a helper and not a hurter. But even if they're not doing it properly, even if they're not showing that they are a helper, but they're being rude, she's still helping you. In other words, just if you could just translate the words into the helping words, when she's saying it's a stupid idea, you just translate those words into you're off target and you need to get on target, and you need to change the invention this way and that way to make it so that women like it, because that's my target market, or maybe that's not my target market. But just translate the words into what is helping you and not just what is blocking you. Somebody who challenges the boss on a merger, there's a big merger, and somebody comes from the back table, and he says, there's a problem with this and that and that. Does anybody think he should be thrown out? Nobody thinks he should be thrown out. Thinks he should be applauded for coming forth and saying an opposite opinion, because it has the potential to save the company millions and millions of dollars, and that's the overreaching goal. There's always a third opinion. The third opinion is to save or gain the money, millions and millions of dollars, and that causes this person's opposition to become something very positive. So look at everything she does as a way to propel you forward. She doesn't mean to hurt you anyway. In 99% of cases, she doesn't mean to hurt you, but it comes out as in a hurtful way because of what the snake has done to us. It has made things come out in a way of ego and arrogance. So just take the lesson, and now let's go on to the next thing. Inject negotiation. It's not a fight. Your fight is not a fight. It's a negotiation. And you're just performing very badly in the negotiation. But we are just doing business. For an argument about the kids or about sex or about whatever, it's a negotiation. Remember that. It's a negotiation. Walk into it like a negotiation where we're trying to reach a deal. And there has to be at the end of it a deal. Next, inject the escape. Sometimes in a negotiation, you need to walk away from the table before things get heated. And the key is to walk away before things get heated. If it's heated, you definitely need to get away. But if it's before you can get heated, then it's really good. You can leave and then listen. Start to listen to what your wife or husband is saying. But get in that car and drive around the block, or get on the highway if you need to, and go to a different exit and come back. And while you're driving, really listen and think about what she's saying and how it could possibly help you instead of be hurting you. Think about, when you're in that drive, think about how much more important it is to have each other's love than to be right. Isn't it better to be fighting and be married than to be not fighting and divorced? Trust me, it is. And again, you can pay a counselor to realize this, or you can just listen to this video, use a little imagination, put in a little effort, and take the third opinion. Use the escape to allow you the chance to take the third opinion. Inject listening. Now, once I was in a debate class and we debated for 10 minutes, me on one side, she on the other. And then the teacher said, now switch positions and argue for another 10 minutes and argue their position. So we all hoped that we listened to each other very well because that was about to become our opinion. So, how much can you argue the side of the other spouse? How much can you be like that debate team? Because when we did that in that debate team, we became true debaters. We weren't true debaters when we just took one side, but when we could take the other side and debate that just as well for another 10 minutes, we became true debaters, and you will become true husbands and wives if you can argue the other side. So, in an argument, say, for 5 minutes, I'm going to take your side. For 5 minutes, I'm going to take your side. And you switch. Every argument becomes a chance to then get to know each other better and a chance at makeup sex. If you can't do it, you need to get out of the house and use the injection of escape until you can do it, until you can see her perspective. We need to next inject the idea of oneness. Don't view your marriage as tying you down and you have to get out of it as soon as you can. Replace that thinking with God created a way for two people to get closer than they ever have in history. And our house is a small world that is supposed to be a beacon onto the nations. We want to be united as possible because this house is under God. We want to be united as humanly possible. So we have sex to know our wives. That's what the Bible says. Knowing means sex. We have sex to know our wives, to come closer and closer. So we shut the lights out so it doesn't reveal our separateness. We use the missionary position so you're as close as possible together. You forget about the pleasure. It's not about the pleasure. That's an accomplishment. Sex is not an accomplishment. The pleasure is just what you feel. Feel the oneness. That's the goal. Oneness. Would you eat all cookies for dinner tonight? No, you wouldn't. So why would you indulge in sex like cookies for dinner? Like it's all about the pleasure. No, it's about the unity between you two. And it doesn't matter who comes first or anything like that. It's all just about coming closer together and the oneness. She is surrendered on her back. There's no pressure on her to do anything. There's no pressure on him to do anything special. She's just totally surrendered, and you see if you can feel the other person. Can you feel their heartbeat? And to really spice up your sex life, you can do what the Jews do. Take a week off of sex. Take a week where you don't even touch each other or where you don't even talk about sexual things. And then come back on. The Jews go 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You don't have to do exactly what we do, but you can take some time out to not touch each other and not talk about sex. And then when you come back, it's fireworks. The next thing we need to inject is injecting gratitude. Gratitude for the fact that you're married to a man or a woman. We don't thank God enough for the fact that we have a husband or a wife. A lot of people can't get a date, let alone be married. And a lot of people die virgins. God says it's not good to be alone. So it's better to fight every single day like cats and dogs than to divorce and be alone. And as someone who went through a divorce, I can say that that's true. It's better to be in the pool, even though it's cold and wet and you have to paddle and you could drown, but it's still better to be in the pool than to be outside the pool wishing you were in the pool. The next thing we need to inject is more essence. More essence. Stop looking for what he has done for me lately. That's all purpose. To God, the marriage bond is just as strong as the parent and child bond. The essence is what the thing is. Like a circle, like we said, God is the only true existence in the world. No matter what you do, God loves you, essentially, because you are essentially his son. There's also the idea of purpose, which is that you're becoming the best version of yourself. And are you accomplishing the mission that God gave you? This applies to pillows. Like, we love the pillow, but if it's all bent out of shape and it's not soft or whatever, it's not fulfilling the role of a pillow. So that's essence and purpose. So God has sort of given us the formula. All you have to do is look at the formula closely. The woman is essence. She looks at things essentially. That's why when she comes home talking about a problem, she doesn't want it solved. She just wants it to be heard. She wants it unchanged. She wants to relish in it. And the husband is purpose. He wants to solve the problem while the wife wants to just examine it. Above those two things is God's unity, where you are at the place of art or the jokester or the storyteller, where you have both essence and purpose because the story is not really real, it's not really happening, you're really unchanged. At the same time, you get totally into the story, and there's something to be gained from the story, and that's its purpose. So you should shake upon the fact that one of us, at least, or both of us, are going to be like the storyteller in this relationship. We're going to take the third opinion, and we're going to see what the right thing to do is. You both are under the canopy. You're both making the goal to do the right thing, which you both agree upon. So you will find a solution that satisfies you both. There's a rabbi who said that when he was younger, he set out to change the whole world, and that didn't work. So he set out to change his whole country, and that didn't work. So he set out to change his whole city, and that didn't work. And then he tried to just change himself, and that actually worked. And he said if he had started with changing himself, he would have changed the whole world by now. So working on yourself is something you can do that will help the marriage without the participation of the other person. You can fix the marriage yourself. Let's get practical for a moment. 3 main issues that cause divorce are sex, money, and kids. So with sex, if it's about positions, who's getting more, who's getting less. If the overarching goal, the third opinion, is to be connected, and to be more unified. So you shut the lights out, and you know that God is a unity, and unity, you're supposed to think about God during sex, but what that really means is you're supposed to think about unity. And closeness breeds contempt. I'm not sure which poet said that, but it's very true. If you are, you don't take care of yourself, you leave your legs unshaven, and you don't wax anymore, and you don't wear makeup anymore, and the husband takes up all the space on the bed, and he leaves his tub dirty and leaves his clothes all around, and both people can get too comfortable, and closeness breeds contempt. If you get too familiar, you become careless, and you have to date again. You have to treat each other with respect. You have to have awe of each other, actual awe. Awe lets the oneness come in, come out. So date again. Say from now on, for the next few days, we're dating. We're going to pretend like we've just met each other, and we're going to put our best foot forward. Always stay with the idea that you need this person. You need, not that you need this person, but you need to impress. You need to get this person. You need to get this person, and therefore you need to put your best foot forward. And you're going to look great and keep clean. And the next thing is money. Money is power. It's options. It's volts. It's gas in the tank. Spend too much and you start to lose options. Spend too little and you're not enjoying your money. You're not using its options. So money opens up pleasurable experiences to you, and that pleasurable experiences could be in the close future or the distant future. You can enjoy giving and spending because that's using your options now. And according to the third opinion, you can use them now or you can use them later, but it's the same thing. It's the same options, the same enjoyment. So if she's spending too much, you understand that she's gaining some pleasure out of it. She's using her options, and you just want the options to be used later. So you will get it later through a negotiation. You will decide how much of it we'll spend now and how much of it we'll spend later. That will be through a negotiation. And in any case, you're all just using your options. Now, there are fights about kids. How many kids to have? Well, what's the third opinion? What did the third opinion say? It's saying, well, what we're doing is we're passing life onto the next generation and we're building a family. So you don't really care if you're passing the life onto the next generation to a lot of people or a generation that has very few people in it. She is being a helper who opposes, and you are arguing about conservation of energy versus expansion of energy, but it's still energy, it's still you. No matter how many you have, these kids are still a reflection of you. So keep your boundaries, have awe, wear makeup, wax, clean your room, clean the tub, don't take up all the space on the bed, dress well, come back. After watching this, come back to your husband or wife and give them a big hug and a big kiss. And when you come back, there's this whole idea of makeup sex, which is a very godly thing. So when two opposites come back to each other, they come back even stronger. And maybe you make some time to be further apart because closeness breeds contempt. But in the short term, have some makeup sex. And I hope it's really wonderful for you. And I hope this takes your marriage to the next level. I hope it fixes your marriage. I hope that when your marriage is fixed, it will serve as an example for other people to fix their marriages. And God bless you all.